my note card.
बाबा तो कितने कंडीशन करते हैं अरे दादी होती है
Alright. The year is 1967, and the small crowd is gathered outside an unlicensed bar located in the center of a poor black neighborhood in the city of Detroit. Policemen and intruders are arresting the patrons of the bar, and as the last of the patrons are being arrested, this, this the tension in the air is palpable. In the midst of all this, a brick goes flying through the rear window of a police cruiser. A small spark can cause a prairie fire, and this act of mild vandalism would lead to a series of break-ins, burglaries, arsons, lootings, shootings in the race riot of 1967. Though the reason behind the riot might seem trivial at first, it is anything but. The riot was a manifestation of the frustration and anger felt by the black community during that era because of the decades of segregation and oppression that they had faced. After the industrial boom, many black migrant workers had moved to Detroit in hopes of a better future, but they faced an unequal access to goods and services, and the institutional racism and biases and the unfair housing laws prevented them from improving their living conditions. News of police brutality and civilian killings was rampant, and it only served to sow fear and distrust between the Detroit Police Department, which was majorly white, and the black population of Detroit. Detroit was set on a path of economic downfall. Though many now look at the economic downfall of Detroit as a result of the race riot, there are some who believe it was the other way around. Hubert D. Locke, who was an administrative assistant to the police commissioner during the riots, looks back and believes that the downfall of Detroit wasn't an aftermath of the riot, but rather a cause. The race riot of 1943 had already demonstrated that Detroit held deep civil unrest and strife, and all of these feelings would come to the surface in the July of 1967. It didn't take long for the riot to become violent. Arsons, lootings, and shootings were commonplace. Police and firemen were pelted with bottles and rocks, and a Detroit congressman by the name of John Conyers tried to address the crowd only to be greeted by a volley of rocks and bottles. Additional forces were called as the initial attempt to quell the riot were unsuccessful, and a neighborhood-wide quarantine was imposed. Not an hour into the curfew, a 16-year-old African American boy became the first gunshot victim, and many followed immediately after. Because of this, the mayor put out an order telling them to not shoot the looter, and with the spread of this order, looting became even more rampant. The majorly white police department and law enforcement agency weren't free of blame either. Ike McKinnon, who was one of the few black police officers during that time, remembers when he was coming home from work, still in his police uniform, and he was stopped by two white policemen. Even after he explained to them that he was a police officer, they shot at him. This wasn't an isolated incident. Acts of police brutality were rampant throughout Detroit. And because of this, the riot lasted for a long time. The theft of weapons and firearms served to make Detroit an urban war zone. The National Guard, Michigan State Police, and paratroopers had to be called to finally calm the situation down and bring forth some order in the city of Detroit. And after 5 days, on Thursday, July 27, Detroit finally began to calm down. After the dust and ash had settled, the face of Detroit would be forever changed. The riot had caused 40 deaths, hundreds of injuries, 1,700 arsons, 7,000 arrests, majority of them black, and 2,000 businesses were looted. Total of $30 million was the $30 million in property damage, and after the riot, 40,000 people left Detroit, and many more were moving out. Even in the midst of all this, Detroit managed to survive. There was a change in public opinion as the city elected its first black mayor. Governor Romney pushed forward a legislation in the House that put forward one of the most fair housing laws, and it was passed in 1968. And various activist organizations like Focus Home and New Detroit were founded to address the cause of those disorders. Many now look back at the riot as a necessary sacrifice to improve the living condition of the African American communities. There is no doubt that the institutional racism and bias fueled the fire for this riot, and even now, this institutional racism and bias ever present. We have to look back at history and learn from it. We have to look back at history and take some lessons from it. And we have to work to mitigate this racism and bias that is ever present in our society. Let history repeat itself. Thank you.